Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Solopreneur podcast. My guest today is Margie Chavasse. Margie is a kinesiologist and helps women overcome their health issues that no one else takes seriously. It all came about from a situation with her daughter many years ago, and Margie wanting to find relief outside of medications and using natural holistic health means. Now she helps transform people's health from symptoms such as digestive discomfort, debilitating tiredness, and everything in between. It's different and highly effective. Welcome, Margie.
Thank you very much, Bev. It's an absolute delight to be here today.
It's great to see you. I hope I didn't botch your introduction too bad there.
Oh, that's great. That's fine. Except we
Awesome.
say my name, Margie. Never mind
Margie,
talking
I'm sorry. Oh my, apart from that,
about that. Everything else is great.
everything else was Margie. Okay, pardon. My mother's name was Marge. That's why.
Okay, right. Okay, well, we'll put the blame at her feet.
Well, Margie,
Yes.
you mentioned in your introduction here that I just read that it's different. It's a different way of doing things. And I can give you an example of that because before I met you, if I heard the word kinesiology, certain things would come to mind, certain words I would associate it with, like movement, muscle movement. For some reason, sports injuries, I don't know why, performance and rehabilitation, things like that, all physical sort of stuff. But then the first time I met you on Zoom, the first thing you did was basically read my subconscious mind. Basically told me what was going on in my subconscious. So that kind of gave me the idea like, oh, there's more going on here. There's more to this than just the physical stuff. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah. I think the big difference is which side of the Atlantic you're on. In Canada and the States, kinesiology is, as you say, it's to do with muscle movement, and this is the origins of it really back in the about 17th century. And those kind of morphed into being physiotherapy and um, chiropractor and that kind of thing. But there's another whole area to it. It back in the middle of the last century, somebody else was sort of taking it a slightly different way. And so part of what I do is to do with muscle movements and stuff, but part of it is a lot to do with energetics. So the kinesiology that we're talking about in the UK, excuse me, um, is it's like a little secret, really. It's getting into the energy of the body, um, and understanding what's going on through the energy, and our energy affects everything. So if you go back to the structural, you might not have the energy to be able to do something because a joint is out or something like that. But also energetically, you could have a whole lot of emotional trauma or some pathogen or something blocking the way. So as much as you do the work with the structure of the body, you've really got to look at that kind of invisible parallel which is going on inside you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And so how do you read the energy? I mean, are you just somebody that can read the energy?
Um, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, and I've used kinesiologists as we define them over in the UK for decades myself. I would have said, no, no, I can't do that. And until a kinesiologist said to me, I think you ought to go and train and do this yourself because it would be really useful with your family. Blah, blah, blah. And so I sat on it for 20 years and then decided, not a fast mover. And then I decided actually, yeah, it would be absolutely brilliant to be able to do this. And so I've learned. It's kind of like something I don't know if everybody's got it. I'm suspecting they have, but we kind of, it's like a cupboard you never look in. So you don't even know the door handles there, frankly, to go in and look and rummage in that cupboard. Um, and so yeah, I learned, and then practicing, like anything, you get better and better and better at it. And when I tap into, so to pick up, so should I tell you about what the subconscious is?
Yes,
I mean, I
please do.
think probably your listeners know a lot more about this than the majority of the populations. But your subconscious, you've got your conscious mind and you've got your subconscious, and your subconscious is like it's behind a veil. It's like that wonderful library with a gazillion books in there, and you can find the answer to everything if you know where to look. Um, and you, in your subconscious, it's got the history of Bev all the way through. And you have forgotten a lot of that naturally, because I mean, why the heck would you be holding it in your brain when there's all sorts of things to do, like, I don't know, turn the kettle off, other things to be
Let's get
thinking
our
about.
priorities straight here.
Yeah, we need a cup of tea. We're English.
Exactly.
Uh, um, and so we can't keep out all the subconscious stuff consciously. Would be totally overwhelmed. But if you can tap into that subconscious, you can walk in that library, and your body even knows where the answers are. So if I can do that, I can then be asking their subconscious, what is the most important thing that you need to get sorted for your health? It might be a specific thing you want to be doing, or it might be just, let's just raise you up a bit better than you are right now. And your body knows what it needs. And if I access that bit of information, your body also knows the answer to it. So it knows what the problem is. And if I give it half a dozen solutions, it will know which one is the right one. So, and that way, I mean, it's just phenomenal. Absolutely.
Interesting. So it's kind of an extension of intuition, I suppose.
Yes, yes, it probably is actually. I haven't thought of it quite like that, but um,
Can you
yeah.
do
I
you
mean,
teach people how to do it or no? You just
um,
using it yourself.
no, I don't. I have taught people. I did a very short little bit on how to work out. Let's say you've got supplements, whether or not it works for you.
Mm.
And the way I was teaching that one was just by standing up, and you put it on your chest, and you're standing flat on your feet. And if the supplement is good for you, say, is this good for me? And you will wobble forward. And
Oh,
if you say, is this good for me? And it's really no, you will wobble backwards. So do
interesting.
practice this one at home. It takes a bit of practice. The first time I did it, I thought, nah, this is absolutely barking mad. I can't do this. And then, you just practice.
Okay.
And then, yeah, you realize that it does really work.
Interesting. It's so like this thing.
Yeah, I do this as well.
Yeah,
So
I've
I
seen
could
that
say,
before too.
yeah, I'm just, I, yeah, so I could say, is magnesium, do I need magnesium? And it breaks apart. I do need magnesium, and I need a particular form, but that's a different thing.
Oh, so
Um,
this is no.
but if I said, do I need a multivit, it won't open. So so and I do this with toothpaste as well. When you're in the supermarket and you've got a range of toothpastes there, and you're going, oh my God, presumably I go for the most expensive because that's going to be the best one. But actually, they're the ones that've got lots of different stuff in there, and they might not be. So if you practice this and then you pick it up and you stick it up your arms in the supermarket, you'll find a whole row of people doing this now. And you do this and you say, is this, can I tolerate this one? And your fingers may or may not open. And then if you get three which you tolerate, you get, is this one good for me? Is this one the best one for me? And you find out.
So
And
break
quite often
open.
it's the cheapest.
Yeah, exactly. So,
The one with
so
the laugh in it.
yeah. So this is yes. This is yes. And
It depends what the question is that you've asked.
oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got to be careful on that one. So is this bad for me? It might open up, okay? If it's is this good for me? It might stay closed. Do you see what I mean? You just so you could say that's yes and no, but you've just got to be careful about the question. Be very, very clear about the question you ask, because otherwise, and this is where a good kinesiologist comes in,
Yeah.
because um, their skills at asking the right question in the right way. Because if you say, "Is this all right?" or if you're a bit wishy-washy about it, or "Oh, well, this one do," or whatever, you will get wishy-washy answers. Which, if you think about it later, you can go, "Oh my goodness, there could have been. I was not precise with my words."
Right,
And
which is kind of how the universe works, as
yeah,
I
absolutely.
understand it. You be
Yeah,
careful what you
yeah,
ask for.
yeah. Be careful what you ask for. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, tell me how you got into this a little bit.
Oh well. My little daughter, who is now in her 30s, was 1.5, and she was sitting on a wall eating an ice cream. And I saw this rash, little bit on her leg occur. And I thought, oh, I don't know what that is. And didn't really think too much about it. And but then it grew and it grew and it grew. And we were on holiday, and she ended up covered in in a red rash. And I had no idea what to do about this. Absolutely. The idea of going alternative in those days was way out of my comfort zone. Um, when we got back home, I went to the doctor. The doctor sent us to the pediatrician in the hospital. We were sent to a dietitian to look at all these kind of things. Nobody came up with a reason. Nobody came up with anything apart from hydrocortisone cream, which was a holding
Mm.
mechanism anyway. And somebody even said to me, I should probably grow out of it when she's about 7. Oh,
Oh,
the child's one and a
nice.
half. I don't think I want to do this. And so, those days when your back is right against the wall, you you will do what I would do anything for my children, particularly when they're so small and vulnerable. And so I went looking for an alternative solution. And the one I found happened to be a kinesiologist. I hadn't a clue what it is, but somebody had said to me, "Oh, I think this chap, he's had some good results." So I stuck this child. I left the other 2 children somewhere. I don't know, probably looked in a cupboard. I haven't a clue because I had to go 4 hours drive from one side of the UK to the other side. We had an hour session with him, and he told me what was the problem was, and then he also told me what we needed to do to get it better. And we did. It took a long time, and a couple of trips, 4 hours there, 4 hours back, and but it was so worth it, absolutely.
So what did he do? Give you some natural supplements or something like that for her?
Well, I mean, everybody gets these things in for different with different can get these things with different courses. Um, for her, age 1.5, she had a leaky gut.
Ah,
So the permeability of her gut was letting molecules of partly digested food, which were too big to go through into the bloodstream. So then the blood sees this, what, huge, great big lump of something. It's hardly, it's just a bigger molecule than should be going through, and goes, it's an invader, and sets out to isolate it and get rid of it. And the skin is one of the ways of getting rid of toxins. So
right.
so for her, it was coming out through her skin.
So it was a toxin,
And
essentially.
so we had to get rid of we had to do things to calm her down, and then we had to, to calm her system down, start repairing the leaky gut, and obviously take out the things which were fueling the fire. So do all of those together concurrently. And then we got some results. I mean, it took us a year because I was a total muppet and I fed her some things which I really shouldn't have done.
You
But she has forgiven me.
trial and error.
Well, yeah, yeah, kind of. But it wasn't just trial and error. It was a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course when you're dealing with a child, as I've already alluded to, I've got two others who are a bit older, and um it affects them too,
Sure.
because you know you're so tied up with dealing with the one that's not well, that actually the others don't get quite the TLC that they might want at that time, or the help with their maths homework, or whatever it is. They've forgiven me too, so that's fine.
That's good. Well, I guess that inspired you to take
Yeah.
this on yourself.
Yeah, and then I went to the doctor some years later with a recurring issue, quite frequent with women in particular. And he said, "Oh, you have to live with it till you get to the menopause." I was thinking, "Do you know, I don't think I want to." So I thought, well, this kinesiology worked for Emily, perhaps that's me. So I did. And lo and behold, the kinesiologist, there was a completely different one, got rid of it then for me too.
Awesome.
So, and then my husband had something and he was told, "Oh, I think you need to have an operation by the doctor." And I went, "Oh, I think you need a visit to the kinesiologist," who resolved that problem too. So, so rather, so I think you can also tell in that I have still, I'm not dissing conventional medicine. It's still really important. And those probably have, for serious things, been our first port of call. But when those don't come up with the answers that I'm seeking, um, then I'm not going to just stick with it. And now I just want to be helping other people when they've got bad gut problems and they don't know what to do about it, or they've got parasitic infections or something and they don't know what to do. And we work through all sorts of things like that. Mm.
Yeah, so it seemed to me like it's a lot of the chronic conditions that this is really geared towards that would benefit the most from what you do.
Yes, I think um there are 2 points there. Whether they would benefit the most, it probably open to debate. I think it people do it unless they've already used kinesiology. They come to it because they've got their back against the wall. But if they had come earlier, we probably could have done something about it earlier. And the chronic part of it. So chronic is if somebody's had that situation for 3 months. I think it is. I think it depends what kind of um,
Or years and years, perhaps.
label it's been given. Um, yeah. So I mean, a lot of my people will have had a pain, a digestive issue, say for 20 years. I
Yeah.
mean, people leave it a
It,
long time, and because it's kind of being told, "Don't worry, just get on with it." And um, you can have a pain, and the doctor might kind of go, "Oh, it's all in the head," because we can't find anything. Ergo, that must be the truth.
ergo,
It,
there is nothing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But there's always and a lot of the energy type of stuff when your meridians are out of balance, say. So I do stuff with those neurolymphatics as well. When they're out of balance, your energy is out, and you can be absolutely on your chin straps, absolutely exhausted. But actually, if you can put some of the energy back in the right way, you're not making all those detours around the circuits where you shouldn't really be
Mm,
having
hmm.
put a lot of energy. Things get a lot.
Interesting. So your toolkit, so to speak, that your tools that you come to healing with include things like energetics, being able to read the energy, um, and other more physical things too, supplements or just whatever it ends up being, I guess.
Yes, yes, and everybody's different. I mean, you could say that most people are probably short of magnesium, but then you get people going, they'll be taking a magnesium oxide or something, which frankly isn't going to work very well if you're very, very low, for instance. And so it's working out which is the right variant of magnesium, because there are about 8 different types, um, which is most appropriate for you. And then there might be some protein digestion, some amino acid, which is somebody's low on. And if you're stressed, or you have got a pathogen, or let's say you've got a parasite, that might very well be eating a lot of the nutrition you are busy feeding yourself. So what's going in is a really lovely diet, but what is getting absorbed into you is not necessarily all the stuff you need. So then you need the supplementation to get you up to the right level, apart from taking away the toxins or whatever it is,
Right.
which is also interfering with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Uh,
so I do tend to have supplementation for most people, but then people work with me for a minimum of 3 sessions, and the first one, we just work in order of priority as your body is saying, right? Because coming back to what we said at the beginning, your body knows what it needs. And if you do them in the right order, some of the little things will solve themselves. If you're no longer feeding something, or then it may die by itself, right? So that's good. You didn't want it there anyway. But so you've yeah, you do it in order. So, and then there's always emotional, energetic stuff which comes up. And the first session can be, I had a session with somebody last week, and it was all on the emotional stuff. And yeah, and then I know we will get on to the other stuff, which is for that particular person, making her very tired. And
right.
she's tired for years. It's ridiculous. Needing a nap at work. It just, it's not good, is it?
No, it doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, so the just getting back to this, it's interesting about the parasites.
Mm.
This happens more often than you might think, I gather.
It it is a frequent there are 2 reasons, oh, probably several reasons, but one is that doctors tests the testing for parasites isn't usually sufficient. Okay, so a test might be looking at poop or pee or blood. So they're looking for antibodies in the blood. But a lot of parasites just ain't hanging out around there. Okay, they'll be stuck in your liver or your gallbladder. I mean, if anybody's got gallstones, it's going to be, I would say, 95%. It's going to be some kind of parasitic thing. Okay, causing
Wow.
the gallbladder to get blocked.
And if you
Um,
don't fix that, it's going to carry on. I mean, might be able to get rid of the stones, but if the thing is still there, it's going to carry on, right?
you're right, Bev, and I'm really sad to say that a lot of people have their gallbladders out,
Yeah.
and they get huge relief for about 12 months, and then a problem comes back again, and that to me is incredibly sad. But you know, one pays your money and takes your choice about how you think it's going to work for you, don't you?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
can't think what else I was going to say.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so is any of these chronic illnesses hereditary, do you think?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I was looking at that a little while ago for something or other I was writing. And actually statistics tend to say about 15% is genetics,
Hmm,
which means 85% isn't. So 85% is likely to be in your gift. And then with genetics as well, on top of that, we've got epigenetics, which is where the genes can be switched on or off. And on might mean you're more likely to get something or other. Off is more likely to mean that you don't get something or other. So you need to have those switched off. And good diet is a good way to have those switched off and keeping on top of the toxins, which is way difficult these days. I mean,
hmm.
there's so many toxins in the air and on our foods, even if we can't see it, and everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
So
exactly. Exactly. Well, I
yeah,
think it's awesome that you can, diagnose these things. Um, it might be childhood trauma, it might be an emotional issue, it might be a pathogen, it might be something else physical. Um, instead of putting it on the client to have figured out the diagnosis and then work out um, who they should go to for help.
yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? One thing I would say is that I don't diagnose. Okay, um,
Okay.
I will suggest that there's probably a whatever it is in there, but I think diagnosis is kind
It's
of
more
a
of a
more of a medical
medical term. Yeah,
um term. But yeah, we'll work out using your body what how to help your body be better, because it's all your body wants to be well. You've just got to give it the right tools to be able to do that and take the rubbish out.
exactly. Is there something we can do, like easy things every day that we can do to protect ourselves from and it's hard to protect yourself from a trauma or something like that, but parasites or what can we do to protect our health on a daily
Yeah,
basis?
really difficult with
Sorry, I lost you
okay.
there.
Yeah, good.
Go ahead.
That's a handy point to lose me. So parasites or food, you will get parasitic infections from anywhere. Okay, they could be on your food, they could be in your water, they could be blah, blah.
You don't have to
Um,
be visiting an exotic country, in other words, to pick up a
Very
parasite.
sadly not. No,
Yeah,
no. And yeah, and it will not may very well not be obvious that you've got some. Now, there's a point at which a pathogen becomes parasitic. There's a point before that where it can be symbiotic. So we've all got a lot of this stuff going on inside us. But if you add on childhood trauma, say, or you add on a whole lot of stress, or you add on um, a big T or little t, big T being somebody suddenly dying, little t being somebody having pulled a pigtail at school, all these different things, um, those can reduce your ability to deal with the pathogenic stuff. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So, which is why you need to clear out all that that trauma type emotional stuff. The way I do it is very much reframing a lot of it, but it's not a talking. I don't do talking therapies. I'm using way back the really old mind rather than the sort of bit of the frontal cortex.
interesting.
Um, and if you wanted to do stuff to keep yourself a bit healthier, I think the best thing is variety. So, um, I always, I mean, it's become very common cry now is eat 30 different foods every week. And that can seem quite a challenge, particularly to start with. But and it's really interesting if you do note down what foods you're eating, you'll find that wheat comes into so much and dairy comes into so much. So if you've got a sensitivity to those, it's hardly surprising because you'll keep on eating it. And so after a bit, the body goes, oh no, not again. I'm going to I'm going to make myself feel really ill eating this. And you do get yourself really ill. But you know, and then if you do the variety, you can probably take a lot of these other things which we eat too much of. You can probably have them in small quantities. It depends on the person, really.
Hmm. Interesting. I had not heard variety of foods before, but
Oh,
that's a
have you not?
very good
Oh,
point. No,
and
because I
herbs
eat
and
the same
spices.
thing almost every day.
Oh, Bev.
Maybe that's not so good.
Well, you could perhaps do something about that.
I
I
will.
mean, a lot of the curry ingredients, for instance, are actually really good um, for dealing with parasites. So, and I'm wondering whether that's why very hot foods can they have them in countries where there might be more parasitic
Mm.
infections.
Ah, good point. Good point.
But
I
yeah.
didn't know.
But if
Awesome.
you
Well,
really want to know what works for you, you need to find somebody, a kinesiologist, to help
you
you.
have to
And
call
then,
Margie. Margie. I did it again. I'm
but I
sorry.
will answer to Margie.
Sorry. Ah, help. Okay. Well, Margie, I'm going to wind this up because I don't know what I'm saying, and also I don't want to lose the connection again. So thank
Okay.
you so much for being here. I've learned a ton, and I'm sure everybody has. Thank you. It's been great having you.
Well, it's been absolute delight to be with you, Bev, and thanks very much indeed. And
All right.
NRG Holistic Health, if anybody wants to
Yes.
be in touch with me.
Yes. Sorry, I forgot to ask. nrgholistichealth.com.
Yes.com. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also on LinkedIn if anybody wants to connect with me there as well.
Awesome. We'll get that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
All
Margie.
right.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye, Bev.
Bye.
Bye.